Welcome to the deep dive. And hey, if you're following along with the social psychology course at Los Angeles City College, seriously, stop for a second. Give yourself a massive high five.
Absolutely. You've just landed on Module 6. That means you are officially, right now, at the halfway point of the semester.
Which is huge. That takes some serious commitment, especially when you're juggling everything else life throws at you, particularly here in Los Angeles.
And that's why today, we're not just, talking academic theory. We're really aiming to give you this essential psychological toolkit for navigating all those pressures.
Yeah, consider this deep dive our thrilling adventure, if you will, into understanding these sort of silent forces that shape almost every decision you make.
Things like cultural noise, career expectations, maybe tricky family dynamics, all that stuff.
Exactly. We are exploring conformity and obedience. Why do we so often just go along with the crowd, even when deep down our gut is kind of screaming, no, this isn't right?
And crucially, we want to arm you with the knowledge so you can recognize when not to follow. The big question really is, how do you balance your individual self, your me, with that huge, sometimes overwhelming pressure from the group, our we?
Because figuring that out, that's key for boosting your career path and just making solid personal choices day to day.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so let's kick things off by defining our terms. Because conformity, compliance, obedience, they get used interchangeably, but they actually represent like a spectrum of social influence.
Right. Let's start broad. Conformity. The module defines it as a change in your behavior or even your beliefs because of group pressure. And that pressure can be real or it can just be imagined.
Okay, so a change. But based on what's happening inside, there are two main types.
Exactly. The first one is acceptance. This is where you don't just act in line with the group pressure. You actually truly believe it too. You've genuinely bought into the group's view.
You're convinced.
You're convinced. Then the second type is compliance.
Ah, this feels more familiar. This is the one we usually think of, I guess.
Probably. With compliance, you act publicly like you agree. You follow the boss's orders. You go along with your friend's plan. But inside, privately, you completely disagree.
Got it. So acceptance is internal and external agreement. Compliance is external agreement only.
Precisely. And we can narrow it down even more to define obedience. Obedience is really just a specific kind of compliance.
How so?
It's acting according to a direct order or command. Usually this comes from someone you see as an authority figure.
Okay, definition set.
Yeah.
Now, how did researchers even start to unpack these forces? Because real life is messy.
It is. So they had to get a bit creative. They developed what this module calls laboratory microcultures. Think of them as simplified, simulated social environments.
Designed to cut through the noise and isolate the pure effects of social influence.
That's the idea. And the absolute classic study here, the foundation, is Muzaffar Sharif's work on norm formation. His goal was ingenious. He wanted to see how norms get created when people have absolutely zero basis for judgment. A complete blank slate.
How did he manage that?
He used something called the autokinetic phenomenon. Imagine sitting in a totally pitch black room. A tiny stationary dot of light appears.
Okay.
Because there's nothing else to see, no reference points at all. That tiny light seems to move erratically, even though it's perfectly still.
Like your eyes playing tricks on you in the dark.
Exactly. So Sharif basically created this little pocket reality where nobody could possibly know the right answer about how much the light moved. There was no physical truth to find.
So what happened when he put people together?
That's where it gets interesting. He'd have participants estimate the movement alone first, then in groups over several sessions. And consistently, their individual, often very different estimates started to converge. Dramatically.
Just start agreeing.
They collaboratively, unconsciously established a shared group norm for how much the light moved, even though it wasn't moving at all.
Wow, that directly shows suggestibility, right? How easily we can be influenced when we're uncertain.
Absolutely. And you see echoes of this constantly, especially in a super social, interconnected place like Los Angeles. Think about simple stuff like contagious yawning.
Or laugh tracks on sitcoms telling you when something's supposed to be funny.
Right. Or mood linkage. You ever notice how if everyone around you is stressed or down, you start feeling that way too, even if you weren't initially?
Totally. It's contagious.
This module also points to the chameleon effect. That's our sort of natural unconscious tendency to mimic the postures, mannerisms, expressions of people we're interacting with. It's deeply wired.
Shows how much we're built for social connection, I guess.
It does. But suggestibility isn't always harmless. It can spiral into more disturbing things. like the mass hysteria mentioned in the module, where psychological issues or even dangerous behaviors like conversion disorders, or sadly, even things like suicide clusters or gun violence, can spread through social contagion.
Okay, so Sharif showed norm formation in total ambiguity. But what if the answer isn't ambiguous? What if it's crystal clear, but the group is just wrong?
Now you're setting up Solomon Asch's famous studies on group pressure. That was exactly his question.
How did he test that?
His setup was almost deceptively simple. He showed participants cards, one with the standard line, the other with 3 comparison lines. The task: just say which of the 3 comparison lines match the standard line.
Easy enough.
Usually, yes. But Asch put one real participant in a room with 6 Confederates actors pretending to be participants. On several key trials, all 6 Confederates were instructed to unanimously give the wrong answer. An obviously wrong answer.
Ooh, okay. So the real participant hears 6 people confidently give a wrong answer before it's their turn. What happened?
The results were pretty startling. Not everyone caved, but a huge chunk did. About 75% of participants conformed to the wrong answer at least once.
75%, even when they could clearly see it was wrong.
Yes, and overall about 37% of all responses across the study were conforming ones. It wasn't generally because they suddenly believed the wrong line was right. It was the sheer psychological weight, the discomfort of standing alone against the unanimous majority.
That feeling of, am I crazy or are they?
Exactly that feeling. It's powerful. Interestingly, the module notes that later replications of Asch's work found slightly less conformity.
Any idea why?
Well, it might suggest some cultural shifts over time, maybe a slightly greater emphasis on valuing independence, perhaps. It's hard to say definitively, but it's an interesting trend.
Okay, so Sharif is ambiguity, Asch is clear reality, but group pressure. Now we get to the big one, right? The one everyone talks about. Milgram.
Stanley Milgram's obedience studies. Yeah, this is often seen as the ultimate psychological showdown. Authority clashing directly with personal conscience.
Set the scene for us. What was the setup described in the module?
Okay, so participants thought they were part of a study on memory and learning. They were assigned the role of teacher, and another person, actually Confederate, was the learner, strapped into a chair in another room.
And the teacher's job?
To read word pairs to the learner. If the learner got one wrong, the teacher was instructed by the experimenter, this authority figure in a lab coat, to deliver an electric shock. And crucially, each wrong answer meant increasing the shock level.
Oh, boy. And these shocks weren't real, right? But the teacher thought they were.
Correct. The teacher believed they were administering real, increasingly painful shocks. The learner, the Confederate, followed a script. Grunts of pain, then shouts, demands to stop, complaints about a heart condition, eventually. Chilling silence.
So the teacher is hearing protests, screams, a direct appeal to their morality. What did they do?
This is the number that just stops you in your tracks. Despite the learner's protests, despite the clear moral conflict, a staggering 65% of participants continued administering the shocks all the way up to the maximum voltage, labeled XXX.
65%.
Wow.
That's deeply uncomfortable to think about.
It really is. And it forces that tough question. Were these participants just unusually cruel people? Or does this reveal something terrifying about how powerful a situation, how powerful authority can be?
And Milgram found this wasn't just a male thing, right?
No, the module points out that results were similar when women were the participants acting as teachers. It wasn't about gender. It seemed to be about the dynamics of obedience itself.
What helps us understand why people went so far? The module mentions 4 factors.
Yes, and these are incredibly relevant, especially when you think about making tough calls in high-pressure jobs or academic situations here in LA. First, Milgram highlighted the slippery slope. You start with a very small, seemingly harmless shock, 15 volts. Once you've done that, it's psychologically harder to justify stopping at the next level and the next. Each step seems like only a small increase from the last one you already committed to.
Okay, the small steps make it easier to escalate. What's second?
The framing of the whole situation. The experimenter, the authority figure, consistently framed the shock giving not as hurting someone, but as a necessary part of a scientific experiment. It was framed as the social norm within that specific context.
So redefining the action makes it more palatable. Third,
A crucial one, the opportunity to deny responsibility. The experimenter explicitly said they were responsible, so the teacher could mentally shift the moral burden. I'm not responsible, I was just following orders.
we've certainly heard that phrase in other contexts.
Indeed. And fourth, and this is so critical for anyone under pressure, the limited time to reflect. The experimenter pushed them to continue quickly, There wasn't much space to stop, step back, think critically about the morality of it all. In the heat of the moment, you default to the authority.
Slippery slope, framing, denied responsibility, and no time to think. That's a potent cocktail for compliance.
Extremely potent. And when you connect Ash and Milgram, the big takeaway is clear. The power of this social situation can be overwhelming. It shows how public compliance can genuinely override our private moral compass, pushing us to act against our own conscience. And it underlines that strong link between our behavior and our attitudes.
Okay, so we know these powerful forces are out there. How can we predict when we are more likely to fall prey to them, especially navigating, say, a competitive LACC program or starting a career in LA?
The module lays out several key predictors. A big one is feeling insecure or incompetent.
Makes sense if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. If the task is difficult, if you feel unsure of your own judgment, you're much more likely to look to the group for the right way to act or think. Think about being the new person on a team, right? That insecurity makes you more susceptible to influence.
What about the group itself? Does its makeup matter?
Definitely. Group size is one factor. Interestingly, conformity tends to increase with group size up to a point, typically around 3 to 5 people. Adding more beyond that doesn't necessarily increase the pressure significantly,
So a small, unified group can be very influential.
especially if it's unanimous. Unanimity is incredibly powerful. As Ash showed, if just one other person breaks from the group consensus, if there's just one other dissenter, your own independence gets a huge boost.
You don't feel like the lone weirdo anymore.
Precisely. Then there's cohesiveness. This is that we feeling, the sense of connection within the group.
Like a tight-knit study group or a sports team.
Exactly. Highly cohesive groups exert more influence because members really value belonging to that group. Conforming feels necessary to maintain that connection.
And what about status? That feels very LA.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Status matters a lot. Higher status individuals, the boss, the professor, the perceived cool kid, tend to have more influence. And conversely, junior members of a group, people lower on the totem pole, tend to conform more.
You see that playing out in internships or entry-level jobs all the time.
For sure. If you're trying to make your way in a competitive field, that pressure from superiors or established figures is very real.
Okay, 2 last factors mentioned. Responding publicly versus privately.
Yes, public response increases conformity. If you have to state your opinion or decision out loud in front of the group, you're more likely to align with them than if you could respond privately, like in an anonymous poll.
And related to that is prior commitment.
Right. If you make a public commitment to a position or a decision before hearing the group's pressure, you're much more likely to stick to your guns. Think about umpires making a call instantly or jury members being polled publicly one by one. That prior stance helps resist later persuasion.
So insecurity, group size, unanimity, cohesion, status, public response, prior commitment. Lots of factors. But why? What are the deep down reasons we conform?
The module boils it down to 2 fundamental human motives. The first is normative influence.
Normative, meaning related to norms or social rules.
Exactly. This stems from our deep-seated desire to be liked and accepted by others. We conform to meet the group's expectations, to fit in, to avoid rejection or ridicule.
Okay, the need to belong. What's the second one?
Informational influence. This comes from our desire to be right. When we're unsure about reality, especially in ambiguous situations like Sharif's study, we look to others as sources of information. We accept their views as evidence about reality.
So normative is about being liked. Informational is about being right.
You got it. And the module makes a great point, that friends often have extra sway over us because they tap into both reasons. We want our friends to like us, normative, and we often trust their judgments and knowledge, informational.
That makes sense. Now, it feels like we've been painting conformity as this negative thing, but it's not always bad, is it?
Not at all. Conforming to essential social roles, being a responsible student, a reliable employee, a supportive family member is absolutely necessary for society to function smoothly. There are expectations that come with these roles, and meeting them is often positive.
And the module mentions role reversal can even help understanding.
Yeah, sometimes stepping into someone else's shoes, simulating their role, can build empathy and bridge divides, but there's a limit.
Right. What happens when that pressure to conform, even in a social role, feels like it's crushing your sense of self?
That's when reactance kicks in.
Reactance sounds like pushback.
That's exactly what it is. The module defines reactance as this motive to protect or restore your sense of freedom. When you feel like someone or something is threatening your choices or forcing you into a box, you get this urge to push back, to assert your individuality, maybe even do the opposite of what's being pushed on you.
Especially strong in Western cultures, right? We value being unique.
Very much so. We prize individuality.
Hmm.
But we're also kind of wary of being too different, too much of an outlier.
So it's a balancing act.
It's the ultimate balancing act, especially for ambitious folks navigating complex lives here in LA.